Okay, today we are going to be talking about the nature of science and the scientific method. Uh, so let's get through this. So, what is science? Science is a way in which answers related to natural events are proposed. So, a way in which people can learn and understand events in the natural world based on observable events. So, make sure we are talking about observable things, a study of the natural world. We're going to be talking a lot about natural world and stuff like that. A method of discovery and understanding by using problem solving process called the what are we going to use? What process is this? This is all on scientific method. So there's 6 steps to the scientific method. It's something we will use. You guys use it every day. You don't even realize it. It's something that scientists use every day, every time they do an experiment. Um, so it's something very important that we need to know. So 6 steps. One is to make an observation. So you cannot start the scientific method until you make an observation. You see something, you feel something, you smell something, something along those lines. Then you form a hypothesis. Remember, a hypothesis is just an educated guess. You don't know what's going to happen. You just use prior knowledge. You guess on what's going to happen. Then you test the hypothesis. Now, this could be anything from, hey, I need to only put my pancakes in the microwave for 30 seconds instead of a minute because I've tested it multiple times or something along those lines. I'm thinking breakfast food right now. That's why I use pancakes. um, Collect, organize, and analyze the data. So you have gotten all your data together. You've analyzed it. So like my pancakes, maybe I'd say I know 20 seconds isn't enough because it's still cold. A minute is too long because it's like almost burning the pancake. But 30 seconds is that right amount. So that's kind of how you collect, organize, and analyze the data. And then from that, you draw your conclusions. After you draw your conclusions, you're going to want to communicate the results. We're going to go into more depth with these over the next slides, but these are the 6 main steps. So in more depth, step 1 is observation. Our observations are based on senses or tools. So sight, smell, touch, etc. Observations of natural events usually raise a question. So usually raise a question of some kind. So why did the water rise when the candle went out? I don't know. Why did it? Research is usually done to help find out more about the questions raised. So that's not really the first step. That's a little later on. So step 2 is form a hypothesis. So based on your observation, a hypothesis is formed that tries to explain your observation or answer your question. This is where you might do some research before you form your hypothesis. But again, most of the time this is based on prior knowledge. So a hypothesis tries to predict or determine the outcome of your experiment even before the experiment is done. So with you guys on your bubble lab, it should have been something along the lines of, if I added salt to my bubble solution, then it would not blow as good bubbles. That might have been a hypothesis. I'm not saying that is correct or not, but that is a hypothesis. So predictions are usually stated with the if-then statement. So here's another example. If I drop a rock, then it will fall down towards the ground. So if and then. So if I do one thing, then this is going to happen. And it must be testable. If you cannot test it, it is not a hypothesis. Now with testing the hypothesis, this is step 3. You're going to use controlled experiments. A controlled experiment is an experiment that tests only one factor. So from your bubble lab, that would have been cup 1 is your control. A control group is compared with an experimental group. Variables are not changed in the control group. So remember, cup 1 was just the soap and water. Cup 2 was sugar. Cup 3 was salt. And so you're kind of saying, okay, I have no solutes added, then I have some stuff added, then I have other stuff added. Control groups allow you to see if a change in a variable creates an observed outcome by comparing the control group with the experimental group. A variable is a factor that changes in a controlled experiment. Variables are changed in the experimental group and serve as the factor tested. So, variables, what are they? There's independent variable, and this is the experiment or the variable being changed in the experiment. So going back to your bubble lab, that's the amount of sugar or the amount of salt that you put in. Dependent variable is the variable that responds to the changed independent variable. So the ability to blow bubbles from your bubble lab would have probably been the dependent variable here. That's kind of what we were testing. This is also the variable being measured. So we are measuring this. For example, or different example, growing plants with different amounts of fertilizer. So the taller they grow, the height they grow, that would probably be the dependent variable. The independent is the type or the amount of fertilizer. So scientists try to design experiments that will clearly show whether a particular variable caused an observed outcome. If it cannot be observed, then it cannot be tested. Can we test if a comet impact killed dinosaurs? Why or why not? So, because we can't observe that, we do something else. We use models. So sometimes models are used to represent a real object. This is used when it's difficult to control all the variables or not possible to test the real thing. So we cannot test the real thing when it killed the dinosaurs or if it killed the dinosaurs. Instead, we had to make a model of this. Step 4 is to collect, organize, and analyze the data. So data collected from the experiment is all put together. It's defined as recorded observations or measurements. There are two types of data. There's qualitative, descriptive. This could be as easy as my whiteboard is white. That's qualitative, quality of the whiteboard. Hopefully I don't have a green whiteboard. That'd be a little bad quality. So, yeah, that is qualitative. Quantitative would be like my whiteboard is 2 feet in width, 2 feet width. So that is a number goes with it. Quantity, quantitative. Think quantity when you think quantitative. Quantity is an amount. Amount is a number. So these are all based on observations. So we utilize tools or senses. So sight, smell, those would be your senses. A tool would be like a thermometer used to test temperature change. Now once we get this done, or once we have all the data, that's organized into tables, charts, and graphs so that it can be easily analyzed. You guys will be making some charts, graphs, and tables as we go through this. Step 5 is to draw conclusions. After you have made your chart, table, or graph, you're going to start drawing conclusions from it. So scientists decide whether the results of the experiment support a hypothesis or do not support a hypothesis. When the hypothesis is not supported by the test, the scientists must find another explanation for what they have observed. No experiment is a failure. I don't know why I put not there, but no experiment is a failure. All experiments are observations of real events. So the one I go back to with this is Thomas Edison. He used thousands of different combinations trying to make the light bulb or the perfect light bulb. And every time he failed, he said, "Oh, I have not," or did not find what we now know as light bulbs. He said he did not fail. Instead, he just found another way that does not work. That is kind of how scientists go about things. Is we're not failing. We're just finding a way that doesn't work. Step 6 is to communicate. So results must be communicated in the form of a written paper or presentation. So that is key. This helps other scientists performing the same experiments to see if the results of your experiment are the same as the results. Helps people see if results are repeatable. Now this step, with the pandemic and everything going on, this step has been marred a little bit because some people think one thing works and other people think something else works, and they all try and communicate at the same time. But social media is not the best way to go about communicating stuff. Instead, written papers showing your data, that is key. So, like medical community, there are medical journals that are produced weekly, if not monthly, and they kind of show different ways of treating different things. And medicine is a lot of experiments and seeing what works, what doesn't. So, and then we have theories. Theories are explanations for some phenomena based on observation, experiment, or reasoning. These are based on many experiments. They must be repeatable. And from a theory, you must be able to predict. So the one theory that I always use with this is the theory of relativity. That has to do with black holes and stuff like that, and how black holes behave. So with that, they have started making models of how black holes behave, and with that, they predict when certain things are going to happen, or if certain things are happening, and can test when they happen. Laws, on the other hand, are summaries of many experiments and observations. Now, laws are not the same thing as theories, because laws only tell what happens, not why. So, like, the law of gravity says that pretty much if I drop a ball off my table, it's going to fall to the ground. It's not going to go to the ceiling. It's law of gravity. It's telling you what happens, and it's not telling you why it happens. It's just telling you what happens. And now with this, there are two types of sciences. One is pure science. We're not going to get to with the other one, which is applied science. All that much with this PowerPoint, but you still need to know them. Pure science is an attempt to learn about the world or continuing search for scientific knowledge. I want to know because I want to know. That's what pure science is. These are people with inquisitive minds, and involves experimentation, observation, questioning, and research. So it could be, I want to know why the sky is blue. Maybe why do trees become woody? Why don't they stay as like stems and stuff like that? So this does involve some technology, and maybe when we start getting into technology, we're going to talk about applied. So technology is an application of science to meet the needs of society. So anytime you make technology to meet the needs of society, you are doing applied science. Remember, applied science typically has to do with an application. So engineers, inventors, and creative people apply scientific knowledge to build new things or tools. Now, these can go either way. You can do applied science to go to pure science, or you can use pure science to make something in applied science. They kind of go back and forth here. And so new technology can lead to new scientific discoveries as well. So for example, we could not learn about cells until after the invention of a microscope. So that's it for today. I know I'm getting this done late, so have a good day.